Black folk, be careful. I know in the news cycle, we are seeing and hearing about that disastrous meeting between Agent Orange and the Ukrainian president and how that degraded into a shouting match that truly is an embarrassment. But I want to remind you all, Black folk, that before you start praising the Ukrainian president, because I already saw a Black creator this morning with a post saying the Ukrainian president is the president that we need here in the United States. You know what? Social media has really caused our collective memories to be very, very short. In 2022, at the beginning of the year, when Russia first invaded the Ukraine, do you all not remember all of those reports about Black people and African people in the Ukraine who were discriminated against as they were trying, like all the others, to leave the country at the start of the conflict? Have you all forgotten about that? All of the reports of African nationals and Black people who reported that they were discriminated against because of the color of their skin and prevented from leaving and evacuating the country in lieu of Ukrainian nationals. I'm going to show you some headlines so that this will refresh your memory. And y'all, those of you all who are still on Twitter, don't know why you are, look up the hashtag Africans in Ukraine. And then for the rest of us, just Google racism in the Ukraine. And you see these headlines. And that wasn't that long ago. We must remember that the conflict that's going on between Russia and the Ukraine are between two Eastern Bloc countries. Before we start praising an Eastern Bloc country, we need to remember what happened at the beginning of that conflict and how Black folks were discriminated against and prevented from evacuating in a timely manner. Before you start putting Ukrainian flags on your profiles, before you start raising money to go send over to the Ukraine, do not make the same mistake that many of us made with Palestine. Palestinian activists here in the United States and in Europe really showed their ass and their anti-Blackness. And we realized, you know what? Okay, maybe we need to remove the watermelon symbol from our profiles because they're so anti-Black. Don't do the same thing with the Ukraine. I'm already seeing y'all. Ooh, President Zelensky is the president we need. Wait a minute. Do your research first. We need to do our research and remember what we said about not having any allies. So this is just a reminder before you all make the same mistake that a lot of us made about pro-Palestine and that movement. Black people, I'm going to say something that we're not used to hearing. I am so proud of us because we have not fallen for the enemy's trap. You see, white folk and the nutcases that are running the federal government, they thought that what would happen after November 5th would be that we as a community would be out in the street protesting. Latino people thought that we were going to join with them and protest mass deportations. White women thought that Black women were going to join them in mass and do the work for them and protest Agent Orange. And they are shocked and perplexed. But see, we have always been wise. They have always underestimated us. And it fills my heart with joy to know collectively, I'm not talking about the ones that Harriet would have left behind. There are always going to be a portion of us that are just in a sunken place. Oh well, nothing we can do about that. But collectively, we have stuck to our stance. We are preparing, but we are resting and standing back. And let me tell you why that is genius on our part as a community. A sobering realization is that this nation does not consider the descendants of enslaved Africans to be Americans. They don't consider us to be worth fighting for. That is why in every civil rights movement and protest movement that we have spearheaded, we have stood alone. And I know you're going to hear people say, well, I marched with black people during Black Lives Matter. The only reason why people who were not us marched with us during the summer of 2020 during Black Lives Matter is because they were going stir crazy sitting in the house under pandemic lockdown, that they eventually did go out and protest. They needed something to do because by the winter of 2020, all of that went away. It was performative at best. We stand alone. And the silver lining to this past election is that became crystal clear that as a community, we have no allies. We stand alone, but that's good because we have realized, you know what? We're no longer going to put our bodies and our lives on the line for people who truly believe that we are inferior and not worthy of the same rights in this country that they enjoy. That's why they felt emboldened when we didn't respond like they wanted us to come into the comment sections of our videos talking about how come black people aren't protesting. You all are being divisive. We need to stand together. I'm looking at you, Arab Americans, who called Kamala Harris a bitch and all other names, and the one dude that said that he would rather vote for Satan than to vote for Kamala Harris. You got your wish. Now here's the thing. White folk and Arab Americans and Latino community and everybody else who is not us, they're going to have to set it off. Because here's the other reason why I am so proud of us. We realize that if we had gone out there and had protested and marched with Latinos against mass deportations, the violence would have been next level. And these other communities know that. See, they want to use us as the cannon fodder. But if you notice, we didn't do that. And did you see the difference in the response of law enforcement to those protests? Yeah, a few Latinos got arrested, but it wasn't nearly the violence that Black Lives Matter protests had. Not nearly. And see, we know what their game plan is. We are foiling the government's plans. It's easy to declare martial law when black folk come out because, again, we're not considered Americans. So they're waiting for us to throw that first stone so that they can come out with their militarized gear, with their militarized responses and weapons, the rubber bullets, the tear gas, and hurt and incarcerate and unalive many of us. And then the government would have an excuse to declare martial law. But see, they have been unable to do that. This time, black folk, white people, and everybody else, the Latino community and the Arab American community, they are going to have to stand on the front line. And they are going to have to throw that first stone. They are going to have to set it off as we sit back. They didn't anticipate that. They thought that we were just talking after the election, that we didn't mean what we said when we told them that we finally fully recognize that we have no allies and that our advocacy is being taken for granted. Not anymore. We won't have our blood run through the streets. Not anymore. Not this time. Black folks, again, I am proud of you. Black women, you truly are special. Thank you so much for leading the charge. This black man respects you a great deal. Black folks, we are doing the damn thing this time. White people are now going to have to tame the lions that they have set loose. The onus has always been on them to dismantle the social construct of whiteness and white supremacy. So it's on them now. You all be careful out here.